What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. We're going to be drafting in an ESPN PPR mock draft. We're going to be pick number 12 in tonight's video. And again, if you guys have not seen any of my other mocks, we've been doing these live every Wednesday evening. So happy to continue doing this with you guys. We're going to join. I guess I'm going to get the screen share going. And just good evening, everybody. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Yeah, man. We got football on tomorrow. We got like actual stuff that matters happening tomorrow. And I've just been soaking up all the training camp news. We've got a lot of things going on, a lot of things we can talk about throughout tonight's show. The draft is starting in about 40 seconds. Again, we're pick 12. I do see Tony in there. He's pick number 1, so we'll watch for him and see what he does. Looks like Harris snuck in there. He's at pick 9. So good to see our usual suspects. But otherwise, if you guys are not in the ESPN draft and you want to draft with me, we're going to do this superflex mock after the ESPN mock. It's a 12-team superflex league. I just found out my draft order in my main league last night, and I got the 12th pick. So I'm kind of excited. We're going to mock some superflex stuff, and we'll do that just after the ESPN mock draft. So we do have a lot of news to get to. I haven't seen you guys for a few days. And things are moving, man. We got injuries. The Isaiah Likely injury is kind of an important note here. A lot of people like Isaiah Likely. I like Isaiah Likely. He was, getting talked up for a new contract soon. But he's got to get surgery on the foot. I don't think he's going to play week 1. And I think, maybe he gets off to a slow start with this foot. Conditioning and things like that could take him some time to ramp back up. So, we've been a Mark Andrews fan base on this show. I think I'm going to continue to like Mark Andrews and probably going to have to boost. I have not updated the numbers here on Mark Andrews and the Ravens. And I thought I saw something on Zay Flowers earlier today. So we really got to figure out what's going on in Baltimore here. He did not practice. Zay did not practice. It looks like maybe a leg issue for Zay. So nothing serious that I've seen reported on that. Let me see if I can find any other news here. 49ers working out veteran running backs. Jaden Blue getting reps with the ones in Dallas. Like to see that. There's Likely. There's Zay Flowers. Trey Hendrickson is back for the Cincinnati Bengals, so that's good news there. The Bengals also cut Zach Moss, which I thought was interesting. I have not gotten to my projections yet, but I did have Zach Moss penciled in there as the RB2, so I'm going to have to do some updates in Cincinnati. That might even boost Chase Brown up a little bit. So if you had any questions on Chase Brown, they just cut Zach Moss. You got Samaje Perine, he's going to steal a little bit of that PPR ceiling that Chase Brown had in this offense. But Chase Brown's looking like a guy that could just get the ball a ton this year in that offense. They're going to have to throw the ball. Do like maybe starting my draft off with a receiver and maybe coming back with a Chase Brown. So we're in the 16th year of my best league, and we do a Twitch stream and we just stream a WWE Royal Rumble. We do a 20-man Rumble, but I created 8 characters that are like just really low overalls, and then we have the other 12 dudes. I created our 12 characters. And we simulate it, and however everyone gets knocked out of the ring, that's what option of a pick you get. So if you win the thing, you win the whole thing. You get to choose what spot you are. And I had second choice, and I chose 12. So we're up to pick here. I'm gonna grab Devon Achane to make sure I get a running back here. But you know what? Actually, I'm not. I'm gonna grab Nico Collins here. I have not really drafted a lot of Nico. I want to make sure I get something a little bit different on this podcast. I really like the wide receivers here. Brian Thomas, Drake London. Those guys stick out to me. I like Malik Neighbors, but I think I have more positive vibes towards the resurgence in Jacksonville, and I really like what Drake London can do in this offense. So I kind of like them over Malik Neighbors, but I'm just going to take Malik here. He's going to be my wide receiver 2 with Nico Collins. But this 12 spot's really tricky. I think those are the names I'm looking at. Nico, Malik, Achane, Thomas, and Drake London. And yeah, so the winner almost always exclusively picks the first pick. So, I would have liked to win, but usually whoever gets second, they want to go to the other end and pick 12. That's just kind of what we see. So we see spots 1, 12, 2, 3, 11. Like the corners kind of populate first. So everyone does get to kind of choose their spot. And, if you're the first one out, you don't really get to choose your spot. But luckily, we got the 12 spot. So I'm excited to mock that. Lee. And if you guys want to join me in a superflex mock draft after this draft, we're going to run a superflex mock over here on Sleeper. So there is a link right here for you. Check that out. And we'll see. I'm doing something different with this ESPN draft. I don't think I would take Nico and Malik Neighbors if it came down, if this was, like a real league. I think I'm probably taking Achan and I'm probably taking Brian Thomas Jr. and Achan, with a gun to my head. I think that's probably the move. And did I lose the screen? We're back. Whatever happened to the quality? I don't know what's going on here. This might be a StreamYard issue. It keeps bumping my screen. Interesting. What the hell? I have no guesses on Matthew Berry stuff, but I always like to read his articles because he usually has a lot of good thoughts in there. And I don't know. I think he's a good writer. I like reading his stuff. So I don't have any guesses, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. And good evenings to Mr. Magic. I'm having technical difficulties here. This thing will not stay on the screen for me. So if it continues to do that, guys, I might just have to just kind of full screen myself and just go from there. But good evening, Mr. Magic. We got that sleeper mock draft for you up here. If you guys want to join it, here is the link. Yeah, I don't get it. It keeps popping in and out, it looks like. But we're entering round 3 here. You got AJ Brown, Achan, Brian Thomas. I like the Bucky pick. I think I'm starting to come around to Chase Brown being a really good round 2 guy. I like Jonathan Taylor, Brock Bowers. I'm fine with Drake London at this point. A pretty good value. Josh Jacobs. I really like round 2. I think round 2 is pretty sexy this year. Kieran Williams, Ladd McConkey. One of my favorite picks here by Tony. James Cook. He's back. He's practicing. He just needs to get that money, and then we'll be happy. And then Breece Hall, Terry McLaurin, and Mr. Magic's the 105 in his home league. I have no idea what's going on with this. It's starting to make me mad. It keeps popping in and out. It could be a StreamYard issue. I'm not all the way sure what's going on here, guys. But as I approach the 3-4 turn here, let's just take a look at some of the guys that we're looking at. If Trey McBride were to get to me, I think I'm open to Trey McBride at the 3-4 turn. I think that's a pretty good deal. CD at 5 would be pretty sick. I think that would be pretty cool. So I'm wondering here, when I click on a comment, does it go away? When I click on a comment, it looks like it goes away. That's really bizarre. There might be some bugs here with StreamYard. I don't know what's going on here, guys. I'm going to leave Lee's comment up there. And if it moves, it moves, but we'll figure it out. As it approaches the 3-4 turn here, I'm pretty excited about Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think getting one of these quarterbacks could be a nice move. I think there's a clear drop-off after JSN at the receiver position. I really like Marvin. I think Marvin's going to have a bounce-back year. We're going to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba as one of our 2 picks. I feel good about that. Maybe not. Like, we do need running backs. I do need running backs. But, hey, they're going to toss JSN down to me here on the draft board. I will take him as my flex. And then I'm going to go to the well here, and I think I got to start pounding the table for Omarion Hampton. I want him on my teams this year. He's a 4th-round pick. You know, I'm seeing in best balls on DraftKings and drafters, I'm seeing Hampton go around pick 30 right now. He is a guy that he's a guy that I'm pretty excited about. I think Najee with the eyes, and Najee is not that much of a threat, I think, to Martin Hampton. He's going to get some touches. He might get some goal line stuff, but he's really behind the 8 ball now with this eye thing going on. And who knows? Until we see Najee Harris practice, I think you're going to continue to see Omarion Hampton climb draft board. So I am pretty excited to get a young 1st-round talent at the running back position. And yeah, the RBs go fast. I like to kind of wide net it and say I want to lock in at least a running back or two and then have my depth pieces. But let me try and pull this up here. So when I click on this comment, it's going to lose it. So I'm going to read your comment, Mr. Magic, but we'll leave the screen on here. Have you been executing a draft strategy this year or just going off what you're given with? I think for me, I've kind of had a strategy developing the last few years, and I personally like to wait on QB. I think there's a ton of talent at the QB position. I want to continue to grab these wide receivers and running backs in the early rounds. I tend to be okay with waiting for QB. You know, if you want one of these young guys like Bo Nix, you know, Justin Herbert, I think Justin Fields can be a fine QB1 this year too. You know, even Jordan Love, Drake May, CJ Stroud. Like, I'm fine having like a duo that I can figure it out with, because, you know, the top 6 QBs, you know, Mahomes is 6. After that, you know, Baker, like, there's so much that can move from QB 6 to 10. So one of my strategies is I like waiting on QB. I like to wait for tight end too. When tight end feels right to me, I'll take one, but I'm not aggressively looking to take one early. Tight end position, you know, if you get the Bowers, if you get the Trey McBride, I'm fine with that. That does feel pretty good. I also like George. I think George Kittle in the 4th round feels pretty nice, especially in this pocket here where I'm not super excited about a lot of these older players, or even Rashee Rice for that matter. I think there's a lot of value in an early tight end, but, you know, for me, I'm drafting a ton of TJ Hawkinson, Laporta, Mark Andrews. Those are kind of the early guys that I'm looking for. But after that, like Evan Ingram, I think if he stays healthy, he's going to be good. I think Jake Ferguson's going to be useful this year. Jake Ferguson didn't catch touchdowns last year, but we're talking about a guy that still caught almost 60 passes. I think there's going to be a boost for Ferguson. You could go with one of the rookies too, Warren or Loveland, Kyle Pitts, you know. So to me, don't really have a strategy. I have preferences where I like to wait for the onesie positions. And then I'm just going to continue to I'm locked in at receiver here. I always like to make sure I have some top end talent at receiver. But I try to just load up my running backs and receivers. I'm probably going to put out some kind of a strategy or guide at some point soon here, but we're on the clock. I'm really liking George Pickens, Jalen Waddle. My guy Sam Laporte is here. I need a running back though pretty badly, and I'm coming around to just wanting to just lock in David Montgomery, man, as my RB2 to wait and just collect 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. I feel pretty good about that. I'm not going to take Laporta here. I do think it's interesting to grab one of these younger receivers, but I didn't get my Devon Achane in this one, so I'm probably going to go Waddle here because I think he could be the #1 receiver in Miami. But man, I'm super interested to see what Dallas is going to do. But I'm going to go Jalen Waddle, Nico, Malik, Jackson, and Jalen. That is pretty good young core 4. Yeah, Tucker Kraft's on the short list for me for tight ends that I like to wait for. We got to reach on Kamara. I like Alvin Kamara. I think round 4, that's fine. But if you're going to have to reach, you know, I don't want to reach too high. You know, if he's going up by James Cook, Breece Hall, maybe. And yeah, Joe, like, I don't know what to do with Joe Mixon, guys. I think we're looking at this team. It's going to be a good defensive team. in Houston. I really like their secondary especially, but they're going to have to throw the ball, I think, a ton. So, I don't really want to mess with Joe Mixon in the running game. I think it's all about Nico Collins. I think there could be some value in guys like Christian Kirk and maybe Jaden Higgins later in the draft, but I think it's all stemming around Nico Collins maybe having just a massive breakout season, which, he kind of had a breakout season last year. He just needs to stay healthy, man. If he gets these extra 5 games in, we're going to be looking at some really crazy numbers for Nico. So we're out on Brees, Mr. Magic says. I'm open to Brees. He's actually going higher on ESPN than he is in the best ball. The best ball leagues, you can get him at the 3-4 turn, which feels considerably better. And I think Brees as your RB2. We talk about positional value a lot on your rosters. I think RB2 Brees feels pretty good. As far as Christian Kirk goes, Lee, I think he's going to be on the field a lot. And my hunch is that the Texans are going to have to throw the ball because that's going to be the more successful part of their offense. So it's probably not going to be useful for redraft. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to feel good about Christian Kirk in our lineups, but I play a lot of best ball, and I think there could be some value there. Just with Houston, that's kind of my bet. Houston's going to have to throw the ball. Kirk catches 5 touchdowns, 800 yards. I think there's something there to squeeze a little bit. But I am excited about Jaden Higgins. I did get Higgins in a dynasty draft we did a couple of weeks ago. I did update my numbers here on the rookie running back, Travion Henderson. I gave him a little bit more receiving share. I do not think that Caleb and Travion should be going ahead of RJ Harvey. I saw a Dobbins question in there a little bit ago. What was that? The dynasty question. If you can find someone to buy Dobbins, I think you should probably do it. I'm not going to go crazy and expect anyone to pay a lot for Dobbins, but we're going to get Mark Andrews here, man, at the tight end spot. I think I waited for the right spot, about pick 84, that 7th, 8th round. We're starting to see a lot of backups come off the board. I am pretty excited about this. We have the great wide receiver depth here, so I'm just going to continue to rep the brand and take Jaylen Warren, one of my favorite players to draft every year. I think staying balanced is always a good idea with getting a running back in the first 3 rounds. It really depends on your league. If you're full PPR, I lean towards receivers and receiving backs. That's what I'm looking for. In the first 4 rounds, I want to get 2 and 2. I want to get 3 receivers and 1 back, something like that. It's kind of my minimums, and then I like to fill it up from there. If you're at a half PPR, I'm probably leaning towards a more balanced approach. I want to get guys that are involved. A guy like David Montgomery fits my half PPR mindset pretty good. I want to have a pass catcher, and I want to have a guy that can get touchdowns. That way, balance each other out. I kind of like playing that way too. So I try to find guys that can complement each other. Some could say Nico Collins is pretty boom bust. I think Jackson Smith and the Jig was going to be consistent. Like, I think those 2 guys pair pretty well. Between the 2 of them, I'm expecting someone to go off and maybe get 40 points out of the 2 of them at minimum. So that's one way to do it. I don't want to have a team of like Nico, Mike Evans, George Pickens, because there's a really good chance that all those guys, some weeks, they're only getting 6 points or something like that on a bad week. So trying to complement each other. We dealt Mark Andrews, Blue, and Kirk for Kittle and Dynasty all in, and the reports are mixed on Blue. We did get a good report, though, on Jaden Blue today. It sounds like he's having a good start to his camp. He's been lighting it up with the backups, and today I saw the first report of him playing with the ones. And then my guy Tony here, Tony's been on Jordan Mason and Trey Benson all summer. He continues to grab those value handcuffs there. And I actually don't think Jordan Mason's a handcuff. I did see reports on Mason getting reps with the ones and getting carries and stuff over Aaron Jones the other day. So a lot of reports out of Minnesota that they want to use Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason kind of equally. So that might not be great for fantasy. It's going to cap each other's ceilings, but there's room for 2 backs, I think, in Minnesota. We're talking a rookie, basically, and J.J. McCarthy. We're going to see what happens with those guys. This is a great question, Mr. Magic. I'm just gonna read it and then we'll go back to the screen. Who are some guys you would bet your life savings on to smash? This is a great question, and I'm hearing smash their ADPs. Okay, I'm just gonna take my guy Jaden Reed here real quick. We're gonna put Jaden Reed on the team, and oh my goodness, this is one right here, dude. This is the guy right here. The smash the ADPs. Number one on my list would probably be Emeka Ibuka. Emeka Ibuka on my bench in an ESPN redraft in the 10th round. Are you kidding me? I think that's pretty insane as far as a ADP value on DraftKings and things like that. He's like going in the 80s. So massive smash in your home leagues. Everything about Ibuka, I would bet big money on Ibuka smashing. Let me see if I can find any other guy. I'm gonna kind of look like maybe 4th round and later. Smashing ADPs. I'm gonna look a little deeper because I don't know how much smashing we can smash. We're betting the life savings on these guys. Ibuka is the one guy that I would feel very, very comfortable betting my house down on it. I think Tank Bigsby. I don't know if I'm ready to bet the house on Tank Bigsby, but I feel pretty good about him being a huge value in fantasy football this year. I mean, we're talking 10th, 11th round. You can get a guy that's probably going to lead his team in a lot of categories. And I think Bigsby's one of those guys. I think for quarterbacks, Jordan Love, I'm willing to put my money on Jordan Love and say he's going to be a very good quarterback one for fantasy this year. If we look deeper, Drake May is also going to be a really good player for fantasy this year. I think some of these year 2 backs, Jalen Wright, maybe Braylon Allen, maybe Isaac Arendo, there might be some use here. I think Quentin Johnston's interesting. I think there's a lot of year 2 guys that could be good. But that's kind of where I'm at. I think Khalil Shakir is a pretty good value. I kind of like Josh Palmer a lot from Buffalo too. I don't think enough people are talking about him. I think he actually has a chance to be, a top 36, top 40 player this year. I think he and Josh Allen, it sounds like they've been having a good camp together. Sounds like Palmer's fitting in really, really well. I don't have a lot of faith in Kincaid or Keon Coleman to be able to be reliable every week in our lineup. So Josh Palmer could be a guy that presents a pretty nice value, but I'm not going to bet the house on it. Calvin Ridley and Caleb Johnson, Quentin, no way. I'm not saying Quentin's going to be amazing, but I do click on Quentin Johnson in best ball. I think best ball is where he lives. And in best ball, I don't take Khalil Shakir just because, I'm going to get 6 for 70, 6 for 80 out of Khalil Shakir every week. He doesn't really quite have that punch for best ball that I'm looking for, but I do think in a typical redraft league, I'm definitely open there. Quarterbacks here, someone took my Jordan Love. Who done it? I'm just going to punt then. We got 7 seconds to do the job. Give me Tyler Warren. I'll just put a rookie tight end on my bench and see what happens. Any more running backs left for me? I don't have many running backs. I have Hampton, Monty, and Jalen Warren. I ain't touching Judkins. I'm just going to put Charbonnet on the bench. He's more of a handcuff type, but I know he's a good player. If he ever gets his name called, we will fill it up. And good evening to Scott. Hope you're doing well, my man. We're going to be doing, if anyone, we got a good amount of people in here tonight, guys. If you want to join the sleeper mock draft, it looks like we got a handful of you guys in here. At the top of this queue, we have the superflex link here. Join that, and I'm going to post it in the bottom here so it's fresh for you guys. But if you want to draft with us, we're going to be doing a superflex draft in a few minutes here after this ESPN draft wraps up. Can of corn took my Jordan Love, damn it. I do like Harris's Cedric Tillman pull. I think Tillman's got some juice this season. Browns are just gonna have to throw the ball a lot. I'm kind of interested in these Carolina receivers. I haven't really been drafting a lot of Carolina this season. I am excited to see what year 3 Bryce Young looks like. I kind of want to see how good Ted McMillan is, man. I think there's a lot to like with everything that they're doing here. Year 2 of that offensive system. I don't click a lot on them, but I'm seeing a lot of good videos and reports out of Carolina. They're liking their deep passing game and things like that. Oh man, Scott. I think Josh Palmer is going to be probably their leader in snaps and routes this year. So he's kind of like Buffalo's version of Romeo Dobbs for me, which in a redraft I don't want on my team, but in a best ball I'll take a chance on him just as cheap as he is. He's attached to Josh Allen. I'll take a chance on him. I think he's a dependable guy that can just be out there and earn a lot of snaps and things like that. And his advanced metrics actually look pretty good. I think Josh Palmer's a pretty good receiver, sneakier than people would think. I got 2 more picks left on this team here. My running backs are Amarian Hampton, David Montgomery, Jalen Warren, and Zach Charbonnet. Nico, receiver, Malik, JSN, Jalen Waddle, Jaden Reed, Emeka Ibuka. That I think that's a very good ideal wide receiver room. Tight ends are Mark Andrews and Tyler Warren. I just need some QBs. We did a test, and we're gonna see who we get at QB. If we're like the last guy to take a QB in your draft, you can just get CJ Stroud, see what happens. I think I'm fine with CJ Stroud. He didn't have a great year last year by any means, but again, I'm kind of feeling the vibe that Houston's going to have to throw the ball more than they want to this year. I just don't really have much faith in them being able to run the ball. And then I'm going to do something stupid. Maybe it's stupid. I'm going to draft Anthony Richardson. We have not talked Anthony Richardson on this show, but I think the last few days he's separating himself from Daniel Jones. I think they're going to give Anthony Richardson the week 1 start, and they're going to see where it goes. We'll talk superflex strategy in a little bit here. I tend to think that people play it a little too aggressively. I think there should only be maybe 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the first round. Especially the first 2 rounds. I'm doing a superflex draft with some of my friends. We're just doing a slow best ball. And I didn't take a quarterback with my first 2 picks. So I kind of try different things. But a lot of it is you have to read the room. You have to know and kind of be able to project on if quarterbacks are going to come back to you. I do think being balanced, I want to try and get at least an option where I can get a top 5 quarterback. If not, I want 2 top 10 options, something like that. So I don't have a ton of strategy for superflex. It's really that's what I love about superflex too, because every draft is different. Everyone's going to value things differently. So it is one of the more difficult drafts to figure out just because everyone's going to try something different. In the past, I've done quarterback starts. I've done, round 3, round 4 quarterback starts. I think being balanced, I want to make sure I have a little bit of everything. I want to have a stud receiver. I want a stud running back. I want a stud quarterback. Those are kind of my 3 pillars. I want to have, kind of one guy at each spot. Yeah, that's the other part too that no one really talks about is the Texans' offensive line. They lost their big left tackle. I think he went to Washington, if I'm correct. But a lot to be nervous about with that Houston Texans running game. So I think CJ Stroud year 3. I'm willing to bet on him being a pretty good player this year. I'm curious what you guys think about Anthony Richardson. I know there's a lot going on with Richardson, but when he's on the field, man, he's getting rushing points, and we just need a little bit of improvement. We just need a little bit of improvement. Let me just look at the defenses here. I just keep coming back to my 49ers defense. I think the 49ers schedule looks pretty nice. They're kind of just the team that I like to lock in there. Kicker, I don't want to go full Houston. I do like the Rams, McPherson, Santos. Washington's going to score a lot. We'll go Rams kicker, Josh Carty. Call it a day. I'm pretty sure the 49ers had one of the easiest ranked schedules according to Warren Sharp's football stuff. I'm not too scared to just leave the 49ers in for the first handful of games here. Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville, the Rams on a Thursday night, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Houston, the Giants, the Rams again, the Cardinals, the Panthers, Cleveland, Tennessee, Indy, Chicago. Like, San Fran's got a really nice schedule here, guys. I think that could be a team that you end up starting, I don't know, 80, 90% of the time. So if you're looking around for a defense, I think San Fran could be the one that you just lock up. And we're finishing up the 16th round here. So if anyone wants to join that sleeper mock, we're going to fire this up here in a minute or so. We have a lot of spots available here, but we do have a fun turn here at the end. And yeah, that's what's kind of fun. Like, the draft is it's a game. It becomes a game at that point where you want to kind of make sure you get a little bit of a game plan going based on what the others are doing. And yeah, the other thing that I like to do in all my drafts is I like to look and see what my partner's doing next to me, because especially at the end, if my guy next to me at 11, if he's taking running backs, man, I don't want to be taking running backs too, and then we're battling for receivers late. If he's doing receivers early, I want to be taking running backs. So I kind of like to ping off my neighbors and allow that to make some decisions, especially early on for me, because you got to watch that. You know, if you guys are all taking the same position early, you're going to be taking the same positions late and just kind of eating into each other's player queue, which is kind of frustrating sometimes. Well, I'm gonna hit start here on. Is this thing not gonna? Okay, looks like we got another guy in here. I'm not sure who's who, but we're gonna go ahead and start it. I think I see you in there, so maybe it'll work. But the roster guys, we're doing super flex. You got a QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, and a super flex. This is my preferred way of playing fantasy football. This roster format, the 2 flexes and everything. So try and refresh. I'm going to hit refresh here just to make sure everything's good for us. And we're underway. We'll turn that volume off. We'll see what Tony Doney does. I think if you have the 101, you're probably just going to collect your Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Don't really try anything too crazy here. But I think there's a huge question mark after the top 6 guys. I think it's Josh, Lamar, Jaden, Burrow, and Hurts. You know, are you taking Mahomes there? 6th overall. I think right now we got 4 guys off the board. If someone's going to give me, you know, a CD Lamb, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I think that could be kind of fun. CD Lamb goes right there, 1-9. Let's see what Harris tosses us here. He goes Saquon. And at that point, I would have liked Jalen Hurts to fall to me. If I can get one of these top 5 QBs, that's kind of where I want to be. But with me being on the clock here, you know, I don't get a top 3 running back, and I don't get a top 3 receiver, and I don't get a top 5 QB. So it does hurt a little bit. I could go with Brock Bowers here. I'm not really feeling it. I'm going to lock in Ashton Genty and just collect hopefully a top 5 back. That's kind of the bet, is just talent's going to win out and he's going to just rack up touches. I just don't know. I have a very hard time figuring out which QB is the right click here. So I think I'm going to punt on QB in a super flex here. And I'm just going to take my guy, Brian Thomas Jr., Ashton Genty, and we'll see what it spits back out on the other way here. We got a lot of quarterbacks to get ripped off the board, but this is that's the good part about mock drafts, right? You got to try different things. I'm hoping maybe maybe 8 quarterbacks come off the board. I don't know, maybe 4 in each round kind of thing. But I've been playing superflex for maybe 6 years now, and a lot of the league they kind of all do the same thing, right? If quarterbacks are going, everyone's got to go. So getting a feel for your draft room and knowing your friends is probably the most important thing. Dang it. We'll get you on here next week, Scott. Next Wednesday night. I'm sorry. Only one quarterback so far here in the second round. So it looks like it's going to work. But there's a handful of teams here without a QB yet. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams without one QB. So we'll see. We're going to be fighting for QB soon. And I like Tony feels pretty good there getting London and AJ Brown to fall to him. Finally, another quarterback, Mayfield. We're going to see some quarterbacks fly off the board here, I think. The board's kind of pushing him down right now, too. So this actually looks pretty good for rankings here. I would be pretty comfortable with Herbert as my QB1. I think Caleb profiles more as your QB2 for you. But at this point, if you have to draft him here, that's fine. I'm probably not drafting Caleb Williams over a handful of guys here. I don't know if that's what I would do. I do like seeing Jackson Smith and the Jigba available here. I like seeing Breece Hall. I like seeing Chase Brown especially. That one might be the move. And then Amari and Hampton there. I think that's tough for me to decide between those two guys. I'm going to take Chase Brown with my first pick and just build out my 2 running backs and get those receptions up. And yeah, I'll collect Justin Herbert here. I think I'm just very comfortable locking in Herbert and just getting all that they have to offer through him. So we got our 2 running backs. We got our stud receiver. And I think Herbert's a stud QB. We haven't seen him win playoff games yet, but I think he is, on the field, he's one of the best quarterbacks, and he does have that rushing upside. So I feel good about locking Herbert in there as a QB1. I think he kind of surprised us all last year with we thought they're going to be a heavy running team. But now I don't have to sweat too much. We'll see if Harris continues to not take a quarterback. Interesting. And we'll see what these nuts does. All right, so we got 2 teams without a quarterback yet here, and I'm assuming these bot teams are going to probably gobble up some QBs here. 2 of them without a quarterback yet. You guys excited to see Trey Lance tomorrow night? I am curious to see how he looks. I'm curious if we're going to see any of the rookies from LA, Hampton, Trey Harris. We'll see. No quarterback. There's finally CJ Stroud, which I think is a pretty good pull there as your QB2 with Lamar. Tony probably is going to think about a quarterback here. Does he do the James Cook, Josh Allen? He takes Rashee Rice. Okay. We're still waiting on that Rashee Rice suspension. I did see Xavier Worthy in the concussion protocol today. Hopefully he's going to be fine. But yeah, we're just in the middle of all those damn camp injuries right now. They're starting to pile up. But we get through here. Caleb Williams off the board. Team 5, still no quarterback. This is pretty good. This looks like waiting for QB is going to pay off for some guys as they're starting to filter to the top of the board. There goes Dak. I would have liked Dak to fall to me. He was my next choice. I think Dak's top 5 potential this year. I think top 10 feels pretty safe. That's just another team that I feel really good about, kind of like Houston. I think Dallas is just going to have to throw and throw and throw the ball. And I lose my Jordan Love. I'm kind of cool with Drake May. I'm cool with Brock Purdy here. I don't hate this at all. I'm going to take I'm going to take Brock Purdy. I feel a little bit safer with Purdy as my QB2. I just want to look at the bye weeks real quick. Bye week 12. What? Purdy's got a 14. So we got Herbert and Purdy. Herberts and Gerberts. DJ Moore. Running backs are kind of cooked. 16 seconds. I'm just going to collect Xavier Worthy as my wide receiver 2. I don't feel great about Worthy as a 2. I think he's more of like a guy that you feel good about in your flex. So we'll see if we can find some more receivers to pump up with him. But I like the start. We got 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 2 receivers. I think balance is looking pretty nice. And we'll see. Does Harris pull his first QB? We'll see what he does. He continues to pass on QBs. Interesting. There's still a lot of good ones left too. You know, McCarthy, Lawrence, Penix. I think those guys are all QB2 material. I think Bryce Young can do it. I think Tua for sure can do it. And a couple of these Grizzly vets down here. We'll see what they do. So the computer just gobbled up the running backs and Travis Hunter and DK Metcalf. Tony grabs my George Pickens. There goes Trevor. Yeah, quarterbacks are lasting a lot longer than I thought they would. I don't really have a preference on Metcalf or Moore. I'm probably going to take DJ Moore there. I think DJ Moore, for me, I'm feeling more confident with Caleb Williams in the passing game. I think Pittsburgh is going to be pretty frustrating to own all those guys. You know, they're going to run a lot. I saw a tweet today that they were running a 0-4 set, which is 0 running backs, 4 tight ends. You know, it's like, what are we doing? I struggled to see DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers really meshing. Rodgers he's a timing guy. He's going to need a guy to get open quickly. So I think I'm safely taking DJ Moore over DK Metcalf. I think Metcalf can still be valuable, but he's going to be, you know, your more boom bust receiver. The Jameson Williams pull there, Harris, that one hurts my heart. And the Jalen Waddle pull. You guys are killing me over here. Damn. All my receivers are getting lit up. Man. That was tough to see Olave, Odunze, Jameson, and Waddle off the board for me. That really hurts my feelings, guys. I'm just going to take Mark Andrews. We're going to continue to lay in our Mark Andrews bed. And I will take – man. I'm just going to reach for Ibuka, man. I think Ibuka is going to be – he's going to be good. I'm excited. I'm going to continue to reach for him and not really care about the cost because I think it's going to take maybe 1 or 2 games and look back and we're going to be like, why wasn't Ibuka going up by like Travis Hunter and Metcalf and Zay Flowers and these guys? I think he's priced off by a good round or 2 yet. So I'll keep betting on Ibuka. I think he sticks out as, to me, one of the guys that I'm not going to leave my drafts without. And we get him in the flex, which feels good. I do need maybe 1 more wide receiver here. I didn't need to reach for Mark Andrews. I got good vibes from Mark Andrews right now. I think he's going to have a pretty big year. He's also in a contract year, if I'm not mistaken. So Mark Andrews, man, maybe he's not with the Ravens, but if Isaiah Likely can't stay on the field. All right, he's in the final year of his deal. Someone's going to pay this guy. He's only 28 years old. He's turning 29 in September. Yeah, I think there's a really good chance someone's going to pay Mark Andrews. It could be the Ravens. We'll see. I am starting to really get excited about Evan Ingram too. Evan Ingram hurt my heart last year. I was pretty excited about Evan Ingram last year, and it just didn't go well for me with the Jacksonville stuff. And good evening to Matt Lee Bame. Stop spying on me. superflex secrets coming out. Good evening, Matt. Hope you're doing well, bud. We got just your casual 12-team superflex mock draft going on here, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Wednesday evening. We do this live every Wednesday. And I want to say, hey, if anyone out there wants to join a competitive fantasy football league, I have a spot for you. I'm looking for someone. This is going to be a money league. I think it's a $25 to $30 buy-in this year. But I'm looking for someone that wants to participate and fill this final spot. This is a league that I want to keep doing every year. This is a league filled with people who watch the YouTube show. We got Tony in there. We got Harris. We got Chase in there. We got a lot of guys that watch the show. And it's just kind of a fun way for me to stay connected with the audience. So if you are interested, please email me. I'll put my email down here. I'm making pics right now, but email me here, thefellowkgb@gmail.com. Email me there, and I will get you an invite link. But I want someone who's going to be serious, who's going to stick around and play fantasy football with us for a while. I'm not really in love with some of the boards here. I'm just going to collect my boy Najee. Najee feels good, or not Najee, Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren feels good on the bench as my RB3 pretty much every time. Tucker Kraft off the board there. But yeah, we had a fun year last year. I thought I had a team that could win it. It was really close. I can't remember who won it. Baby Back Gibbs, who was that? Zach took it down last year. He had a good team. He had the Jaden Daniels team. But it was a fun year. If you guys are interested, email me. And we're about just past the halfway point here. There's still a lot of – this is a super flex league, and you can still get a lot of guys here. So this is kind of a rare super flex draft. No QBs drafted in the 10th round so far, which I find strange. I do want to pull a third one. I think if they're going to continue to linger here, I think getting a third quarterback makes sense. Just you never know what can happen. It's a long season. I wouldn't mind stashing somebody. No quarterbacks taken yet. And I hear you, Scott. ESPN, I understand. I understand ESPN. I do think ESPN has one of the best redraft platforms, though. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. I'm not a big sleeper fan. I don't like playing leagues on sleeper. But I get it. Wide receivers here. Not really in love with any. I do need more. I could grab a little Ramondre action. I'm going to grab a little Tank Bigsby here. Just a guy I think I can pull up. And then I'm gonna grab Trey Harris here. I know a lot of the people don't like Quentin Johnston. I think Trey Harris could be a guy that it's not going to be too hard, I think, for Trey Harris to develop as the number 2 receiver. He's stacked with my Justin Herbert here, and now we're starting to fill out our bench with some young talent. So that feels good. Trey Harris as our wide receiver 5. And yeah, I think Trey Harris has a pretty exciting ceiling. And Harris, man, waiting for QB. Matt, look at this. He waited for QB all the way till round 11, and he gets Michael Penix and Cam Ward, which is pretty impressive. That's got to feel good, Harris. You did pretty well. And there's still some guys left, like Stafford, Geno, A. Rich, Rodgers, Russell Wilson. These guys are starting meaningful games in 2025. So if you can pull one, I'm going to probably pull a third one. Yeah, I think, if you guys are new to Superflex, you definitely got to experiment. You got to check it out. I do think the ADP over here on Superflex for sleeper, it does look pretty good. It does feel to me like how a Superflex draft should go. There's that clear top 5 QBs that everyone's going to be looking for in the first round, and then it's like, to me, it's like clearly Mahomes is he's just the safe QB6. But after that, man, I think the difference between Bo Nix, Mayfield, Murray, Stroud, Herbert, Purdy, Love, Dak. I mean, you can even group in Goff. Like this whole massive group from rounds 3 to 7 they could all be QB6, you know? So that's kind of the pocket that I'm looking for. I want to kind of be patient and let that develop and pull when I need to pull. Um, I pulled Herbert and Purdy. I waited for Purdy on the comeback, and that did look pretty good. So I feel good about my QBs, but there's still too many of them available. And yeah, they're all at the top of the queue, so it is a good pull if you want to grab a third. I'm waiting for people to get on the Anthony Richardson train with me. Just especially in a super flex, man. I'll put him on my bench. I'm just gonna take Anthony Richardson here and wait for him to win that starting job. I'm gonna take one of my favorite players here in a PPR format. I think Demario Pop Douglas has a chance to be the number one receiver in New England. I know Stephon Diggs is there. That's fine. He's also, on the wrong side of 30, coming off a bad knee injury, and he's just got a lot of extra stuff going on around him. I think Demario Douglas, from what I've seen, he's been one of the best players in Patriots camp. I think he's going to be busy, 70 catches, somewhere in that range, maybe. I think the numbers for Anthony Richardson speak for himself. You don't have to like him as a passer, but if we go look at what he puts on, just the Colts are gonna, they spent a really high draft pick on Anthony Richardson, and if you just look at the numbers, I mean, 14.6 PPR or fantasy points per game and 17.2. As my QB, if this is what I'm getting from my QB3, Matt, I think the price is right. And yeah, he did struggle weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but when he got back, 28, 13, 19, 13, 20. I don't think I should have to sell Richardson as your QB3. I think this looks pretty good to me. And if he just finds a way to get that completion percentage up, that's what's going to really make him a hit. But just this rushing upside, it's just too good to pass up on your bench. Getting that 40, 50 yards rushing and a really strong chance at a rushing touchdown, that just automatically makes him a startable, usable QB. And I didn't realize I completely melted all the points off the board here. But to me, this profile looks like a really strong QB3. And as long as he's out there playing, I'm going to feel good having him on my team. If he loses the job, he loses the job. But I think Richardson QB3 in a super flex league sounds fantastic to me. We're looking at completely nothing burgers here left on the board. I could grab another receiver or two if I want. There's really nothing that I'm super excited about down here. Man, oh man. Don't make me take Quentin Johnston, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just shout out Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt here. Scott, I think this guy's pretty exciting. He's basically, you can't go to a Commander's page or search without hearing about this kid. It sounds pretty exciting. Man, the receivers are completely gone. I'll just put a Romeo Doubs on the bench here and see how it goes. But there it is. There is my Superflex team. We'll take a peek at the other guys in a little bit, but I feel pretty good. We started Genty, BTJ, and Chase Brown falling to me round 3. I thought was pretty nice. Herbert and Purdy, feel good about them as my top 2. Worthy, Andrews, Ibuka, and Jaden Reed. We got the tight end locked in, and we're going to figure out receivers. We got a lot of guys that are all kind of in the same, tier of a depth chart for me, but I think we have enough to work with there. Warren and Bigsby on the bench feel good. And then we got some tryouts here to see if they can get up to the flex between Trey Harris, Demario, Dobbs, and then we just took a flinger here on Krosky-Merritt. And then I think Anthony Richardson, QB3, man. I think he could be of use. So there you have it, the Superflex draft. Don't watch Disney, folks. I really don't watch Disney, I guess. So does Scott watch Monday Night Football? I'm curious if Scott watches ESPN Monday Night Football, but this was fun. Take a look at the draft board, and on Sleeper, run some of these on your own to try different things. Like Harris waited all the way to round 11, and he came away with a group of 4 quarterbacks that I think he can figure it out. His team, in theory, if these players are studs and they hit, he's going to just need some quarterback points, and he's got a lot of guys here he can try. So try different things. Superflex, to me, it's the best format for fantasy football. But I want to thank you. Yes, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. I am starting to look at Lambert Smith there. I don't know if I'm ready. I think for me, the bottom of my bench, I like grabbing those running backs early because I think it's going to take time for Lambert to get through there. But I could see Lambert emerging as the wide receiver 3 maybe at some point this year. But keep an eye on him. And we don't watch football on any channel. Okay. Interesting. So that's smart. That's a smart way. That's kind of how I am with baseball. I like watching baseball, but baseball, especially Dynasty baseball, was insane. It's all numbers and hitting and following charts, which is cool. So more power to you. You get your Sundays to enjoy. We spend our time rotting on Sundays. But anyways, guys, thank you. We'll be back next Wednesday night for the live stream. I'll try and put out some more videos this weekend. We'll see what I can do for you guys. But football's back. Enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Peace.
Got me feeling icy.